You up? It's time for some coffee. Hot, bold, and full of flavor. Tonya McKenzie and Gia Sneed are my morning coffee.
Well, greetings, good people. Good to see you here today. Happy Monday. Always happy to be back with you all. Sad news, though, we don't have Gia today. She actually got caught up in the whole hurricane and they canceled her flight back from where she was at. I think she should be on her way home today, this morning sometime, but she's going to miss the broadcast. So, I got to talk about what's in my cup. Hopefully, you guys can share what's in your cup. And then we have a pretty awesome guest here today. And we're going to get into a conversation that I don't know if you've been expecting, but it's definitely going to enhance your life and kind of empower how you think about the Native American community and even your own community dealing with trauma, trauma recovery, and so many other ways that we can promote health and wellness, like real wellness, mental wellness in our community. So, real quick, if you get a chance, go ahead in the comments. Tell me where you're at, where you're from, and if you were around this past weekend during the hurricane that became an earthquake. Did you hear about it? What were your thoughts? It's kind of what's in my cup today is a little recovery from the sensationalism of the whole thing. Seems like the media sensationalizes a lot of things that become a nothing burger. There's a little damage out there, not too much. Folks were still at the beach getting their swim on and everything else. Obviously, with Southern California being so big, some areas were harder hit than others, but we did okay out here actually. We've had worse storms, I have to tell you. This past holiday season where it actually snowed in LA, that was worse than this. So, it was a little sensationalized, but it definitely was turned up times 10 once the earthquake hit. So, even for those people that are from other areas, if you've experienced either a hurricane, a tropical storm, or an earthquake, I'm sure you've experienced worse than this. So we all right, but they did cancel Gia's flight, so she's not here. Sad face, sad face. But I think that's about it. We're good. Thank you guys all for those that did check in on us, that did send text messages and emails. And are you guys okay? And, oh, will we see you on Monday? We got plenty of those emails. So, thank you guys. We have great listeners. You guys are awesome. Thank you for checking in. Much appreciated. But we'll be here every Monday, drinking our coffee, talking about what's in our cups. You see that? Got that from Gia. Cup of happy. I have a cup of happy. I mean, I'd be happier if she was here, but I digress. So y'all know I love getting into it with my guest. Today we have Dr. Ruby Gibson. I want you guys to welcome her. Dr. Gibson, how are you? What is in your cup today?
Good morning, Tonya. In my cup today is, well, we have a lot on our hands working with our community. So most of it is figuring out how to create a historical trauma recovery center for our communities. That's what's in my cup.
Okay, what does that mean? First of all, historical. So you're saying that there's never been anything like this before, and then it's meant to serve everybody in your community. Talk about your community, talk about your business, and let the people know why you felt this work was so important.
Okay. Um, our organization is called Freedom Lodge. We're a nonprofit group, and we're located in Rapid City, South Dakota. And we have nine Native American reservations in our state. We also serve Native Americans across the US, and we're very focused on helping people to recover from historical trauma. And what that means is that our bodies are like walking libraries, and we hold within our systems everything we've inherited, not only genetically, but also epigenetically. So if you think of genetics, that's like the color of your eyes, your body style, your predisposition to certain things. And DNA is the train. But what lays on top of the train is epigenetics. Epi simply means on top of. And so we can't change our DNA, but we can change our epigenetics. They're emotional, behavioral, social, kind of ways in which our ancestors lived their lives and how they passed on survival, basically, to the next generations. And so in Native America, we've had well over 500 years of genocidal acts and ethnicide. And so we have many, many people who have been harmed through that series of 500 years. And so we help people who are still kind of sorting out all their symptoms and the way in which their history has impacted them in our communities. And it's quite fascinating. Not everyone carries the same information.
I want to ask you, when we talk about epigenetics, there's the good and the bad, right? Sometimes I think people fear kind of dealing with that because they think it's only the bad stuff. Like, okay, slavery. People talk about slavery and how it has left a generational curse on us. But there's also the good things, the resilience, the ability to be able to rise above and move on from those things, raise our children, still have great families. Like, talk about both sides of that tale for me.
So, as we resolve trauma, the body of work we use is called somatic archaeology. It's basically about excavating history in the body.
Ooh, how do you talk about that? Yes.
Yeah. And this is something I developed over the past 40 years to create a way in which we could recover ourselves. And so historical trauma is one way of looking at it, but somatic archaeology also can help to bring forth creativity, to bring forth deeper knowledge, to simply have a stronger spiritual connection with oneself, to find an emotional balance. So, we're looking for things that are out of balance so we can bring them back into balance for that person. And everyone's story is so different, but the process is the same, the process of somatic archaeology. So
I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like trauma, the word trauma or traumatic, is starting to become an overused word. It's all over the place. I don't even think people know what real trauma actually is these days, because it's thrown around so much, so freely, as if it's just a buzzword. So talk to the people about what real trauma is that you help heal in the body and where it comes from.
Well, in our Native American communities, many of our people were taken as children out of their homes and put into residential schools that were church run and government funded. And the goal of these schools was to kill the Indian in the child and raise them up in the white world. And so they cut their hair. They experienced a lot of abuse. They weren't allowed to speak their language. This whole system of residential schools really only ended probably in the 70s. And so the backlash of that for multiple generations, because the children were taken at such a young age and forced, like they would just come get them and take them without any permission. And a lot of those children died. And they have all these mass graves at these different boarding schools, residential schools. And so there's a lot of grief that's still in there. We haven't resolved or come to terms with yet, because we're still learning a lot about the lies that were told to our people, and the ways in which we've been mistreated. So those kinds of burdens that someone carries is very painful and causes repetitive patterns. So we see a lot of sexual abuse in our community because a lot of sexual abuse was done to these children in the boarding schools. We see a lot of violence because a lot of them were treated very violently. We see a lot of anger, and that's manifesting as physical symptoms. I think on the reservation nearest us, which is the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, the place where Wounded Knee happened, I think the life expectancy for men is about 48 years old, and for women is like 51, 52.
48.
So, yeah. And
that's
it's
the average?
Yeah, life expectancy. So the amount of stress, the loss of resources, all the buffalo were killed, and so loss of resources, being taken off tribal lands, put in other places, having your children taken from you, multiple wars and murders, and our people have really suffered in some big ways. And so how each person interprets that based on their parents, grandparents, or great grandparents' experiences, everything moves forward through that DNA or epigenetic pool. So a lot of people are still in survival mode because that's how they were raised. And so our goal is really Native wellness, Native American wellness.
What does that look like? Tell me what that looks like. And I'm asking because I know there are people that may not even be very familiar with Native American culture, but when you're talking about wellness, I feel like that's something that can apply across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about what that holistic wellness looks like and feels like.
Well, I just want to also say that, any community, African American communities, Hispanic communities, Japanese communities, there's all sorts of communities that have been impacted, and all Indigenous communities have been impacted by colonization. And this work, it doesn't really matter as long as you're a mammal, it works. You just, I mean, the world is made up of 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth. And we're made up of 4 elements: spirit, emotion, physical, and mental. So we weave the natural world in to the physical world, and that's how we apply our principles in somatic archaeology. When I developed it, it didn't really matter what symptom the person had. The practice was still the same. The 5 steps of somatic archaeology still, held the same content and the ability to help people resolve those deep inner struggles that they have, so that they can have more creativity and more excitement about life and live longer and, have better self-care.
Has your business practice and the work that you do on people, I guess the question would be, has it helped improve quality of life for those in your communities?
Absolutely.
Talk about that.
So we've been doing this for about 7-8 years, and we train people in we call it a historical trauma masterclass. It's a 200-hour program, and therapists come there from our communities and learn how to do this work so they can take it out to their communities. And the people who've come through the class have shared that they feel more relaxed, they don't have anxiety, they feel more empowered, they feel stronger, they have mental clarity, they have less fear, they feel more positive and creative, and they feel like they're doing good work for their children. Because we look at it through the lens of, we inherit 7 generations of memory from our ancestors, and we can impact 7 generations forward. So everything that we choose to resolve, and that might be not a very good characteristic that we might have, changes how the next generation is and what they're going to have to carry. So, it's very empowering in that way for most of our community.
I love that. So how does someone know that they should be coming to see you or to seek you out for help? What are they going through? What is life like for them to know that they are someone that you can help?
Maybe they have similar symptoms to their parents or grandparents. Maybe they've been adopted and they have no connection, but their body remembers because our DNA is so strong. I don't know. That's a never-ending question, Tonya. I believe that we have the capacity. See, if we stand here and we're in this moment in time, and we have 7 generations behind us, which is 126 people who influenced us, and 7 generations to come, we have 126 people we're influencing. And we have so much power in this moment if we give ourselves permission to transform those deeper, maybe subconscious or unconscious urges. So, after the classes, people eat better. They have healed things with their family system. So, if people it doesn't have to be big historical trauma. It could be anything.
Yeah.
And I define trauma as a loss of voice, choice, and power. And healing is a reclamation of your voice, choice, and power. And we keep it really simple because there are a lot of books on trauma and there's a lot of talk about it. For us, it's really simple. So,
How young? What is the youngest you've treated someone?
treated a 3-year-old.
Oh wow. What did that look like?
Yeah, she had been brutally abused as a child. So we spent a lot of time. It took me a couple of years to help this young girl because she had so many nightmares and things going on. But we would sit and we would talk. I had this teddy bear and I had a timer on it. So she would set the timer and we would process what had happened to her during her abuse. And as soon as the timer went off, then she could go run around. And then, the timer would come off again. She'd come back and we'd go with it a little more and then she'd take off. It was really too painful to speak of all at once. And
Right.
so,
Wow.
there's different ways. I've been doing it a long time, and I wrote a book about it. It's called My Body, My Earth: The Practice of Somatic Archaeology, which you can get at freedomlodge.org or you can get them on Amazon.
Awesome. I will make sure that I get that information and put it in the captions. If there's people that want to be connected with you and follow your work and continue to be a part of all of this work that you're doing, or bring you in even to speak, because what you're doing is some very important work. How do they do that? Where do they find you? How do they connect and stay connected to the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so they could email me at Freedom Lodge. It's Ruby, RUBY, at freedomlodge.org. You can call Freedom Lodge at 605 791 0787. And those are probably two of the best places. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. So
Okay.
you can search for us. And we have a lot of videos on YouTube. So if you just go to YouTube /Freedom Lodge, you'll see a lot of our kind of work and things we've been up to.
Yeah.
It's, I've spent a lot of time. I've been around the world. I've done this work in Romania, in Spain, in Austria, different places where there's been a lot of war.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to set off the biggest patterns of historical trauma.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We love hearing about the work that you're doing, applaud you for the work that you're doing, and we'll continue to support the work that you're doing. Once you've been a My Morning Coffee guest, you are always a part of our family. So please, if you have anything else going on or you happen to be in the LA area, let us know. We could definitely come out and support.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right, guys. So I'd love to know what you think. Make sure that you put your comments down below. If you want to get in touch with her, if you know someone that could use the kind of help that she is offering, make sure you get in touch and you stay connected. We bring you amazing people doing some incredible things. Don't miss the opportunity to make it impactful. If you're not, I'd rather be useful than useless. And I believe that the work that she's doing is very useful. And us being able to bring her to you is also useful. So tap in. I'd love to hear what you think. If it's something that you think even your community could use. How are you guys dealing with some of the things that your community has been through? Let me know. Love to hear it. I'm sure Gia would love to hear it too. So don't forget about that. And then we had a couple of comments that I wanted to shout out really quick. Miss Deborah, we know you are in Kansas and we absolutely love you. Did you hear about the storms and like were you worried about us? Because you I did not hear from. So it broke my heart a little bit because I know you'd be loving the My Morning Coffee girls. But did you hear about the storm and the earthquake? What did you think? Do you guys have earthquakes and storms where you're at? Let us know. Gia caught part of the show while she was getting on her plane. Again, I don't think they probably even needed to cancel the flights, but I digress. Better safe than sorry. And then we had an amazing guest who totally agrees with me, which is they made way too much of this. And it did look like 2020 out there in them streets. Folks is all scared, trying to run and get toilet paper. I don't understand what it is about a crisis and this toilet paper phenomenon that continues to happen. Like, not food, not water, toilet paper. Everybody needs to go get toilet paper. So I thought that was kind of weird. I actually did a TikTok, it's on my Facebook page, about people that were in the storm, though. And I don't think it's just relevant for the storm. It was actually important just for any time there's adverse weather, folks driving, texting, driving in circles, splashing water all over the place, speeding, absolutely out of control, knowing good and well that this is stormy weather. This is how accidents happen. So, like I said before, you're in a hurry in bad weather. I'm going to tell you what's going to stop you: having to pull out your driver's license and insurance for the police for that accident you're about to get into. So, make sure when the weather is bad, y'all slow down. Just slow down. All right. Then we had a viewer that said, I saw the documentary led by two survivors, two examples of trauma for life. Yes. I'd love, user, if you're still on, I'd love to know what documentary that was. I would love to watch it myself. Deborah, yes, I've been following the storm. I have family there. That's right. I talked with one of my aunts last night. She's fine. Yes, we have tornadoes, earthquakes, sometimes floods in Kansas. Love it. But you're all right. So I guess it's okay. I went down south before. I used to wonder why a lot of these houses in like Mississippi and areas like that are made of brick. Yeah, the first hurricane, I actually understood. So I'm gonna stay here in California with my earthquakes, and y'all go ahead and do tornadoes and hurricanes down south. I don't think we'll be getting any more here in California. Miss Gia, exactly. I saw a lot of people getting water and toilet paper. It's a little scary. Hillary had my behind spending more money, not being able to get on my original flight. Had to pay for you. They didn't. Oh wow! I thought there was a new law where if there's a problem with the flight, the airline takes care of all that. Okay, guess I was wrong. I digress. I'm glad I stayed my behind home. I was actually supposed to be going to my sister's funeral. She passed away, a military vet out in Georgia. She's from the Bay Area. And I just had a really bad feeling about this traveling. My brother will be coming back today. I hope he makes it back safely. I hope everybody makes it to their destination safely and gets home to where their peace is, get their feet on solid ground, and the travel goes well for all of those. But I didn't go to the funeral. I do I regret it? I had a conversation with my cousin yesterday about funerals being for the living. You get what you need out of them. I would love your thoughts on this, but it just hasn't been something that I run to do as I used to before. How do you really pay respect to someone that meant so much to you? What do you do? I would love to hear how other people spend their time paying respects to someone. Do you have to go to the funeral? It's almost like saying, if you are God fearing, do you have to go to church? Or if the Lord knows your heart, can you have that relationship wherever you are? Do you have to be in the building in order for your love and your devotion to be impactful? I don't know. It's a lot to unpack there, but I didn't go, and I'm okay with how her and I were. So All that being said, thank you guys for showing up for another My Morning Coffee. We absolutely miss Gia. Cannot wait till next week when she's back. And remember, share, like, comment on the show. Make sure if you have someone you think will be a great guest, you send us that information so we can make that happen. We want to make sure that you are getting what you need on these Monday mornings when you come to hang out with us. Again, we are on Spotify now, um, YouTube, and everywhere else that you love watching and listening to your podcast. So thank you for being here. Thank you guys for being awesome, awesome listeners. And we'll see you next week.